Hi guys, it's Buy Euro. I'm Justin at Core Covers, and we're going to show you a series of videos here, make a series of videos to show you guys how to operate your machine. The first video that we're going to make is how you set up the bed to level the bed for setting your panels on to cut the shapes. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use 3 pieces of scrap foam to create the bed. They need to be oversized in the bed height, about 2.5 to 3 inches height. Then we're going to use the hot wire to actually come in and level the bed so the entire bed is level. There are 3 marks that are on your machine, which gives you a general location of where the 3 pieces of foam should go. You can adjust it if you need to, but that gives you a starting point. Okay, so now we're looking at your computer screen. The first thing that you're going to want to do is open up Mach 3, which is the operating software for the cutting operation. Once the Mach 3 is open, first thing you're going to want to do is hit the reset button. What that does is it tells the machine to identify the home positions that the machine is in now. After you've hit the reset button, you're going to load G-code, and you're going to find a file, it's also on your desktop, called Bed Setup. And you want to click on that, and that will load the file. Once you've loaded the file, go ahead and hit the green cycle start button. So now what you can see what's going on is the wire cutting machine is going through and trimming the 3 bed blocks to level the bed. We'll speed it up here a little bit so that we get to the next block. Okay, so the machine has gone through and trimmed all 3 blocks. All you have to do is remove the top piece of foam, and now you have a level bed to put a foam panel on for cutting. Okay, so we're taking up on finishing trimming the bed. Once the last block has been trimmed, the machine is going to continue to the end of the length of the bed. The wire will raise up and return home. Now it's home.
Okay, we're gonna explain some of the software features you're gonna use. First, we're gonna start with the homing button. We've intentionally placed the machine off the homing position so you can view the motions, right? I'm gonna click on reference all home, that covers the homing sequence. Now, the features you're going to use on this section down here, this is where you're going to actually load and close all your G-code files. So, starting with this Beth setup file, we're going to load it here where it says load G-code, and this sample is placed on your desktop. There's a Beth setup folder, so you double click on it and this is the file itself. After you've done this, you just click cycle start and it'll start the process. Then to close it and load a new file, you do the same thing, right? So here's close, load. That's simple. The other feature that we're going to use here is the feed rate. This determines my cutting speed. So if you start a cut where you believe that you can speed up the machine without stretching the wire too long, you can actually push it up or push it down. You can actually click reset, so it'll go back to the default setup. And this section here, this starts off your heating element. So you click on it and you're going to see that it starts blinking. And if you go to the wire itself, you're going to see that it turns red. So there, it's cutting.
Okay, now we're ready to cut a couple panels. So we've loaded a couple panels on the bed of the machine. We want to show you specifically in relationship to the wire where we set the panels. I'm going to put my finger on the wire so that hopefully you can see it. It's pretty far away, so you probably can't. The wire is just maybe 1/8 of an inch inside of, the panels are hanging over the wire about 1/8 of an inch. You want to maximize the amount of foam that you're not going to waste here. So the wire is very close. It's below the panels, and you'll set the panels right just so they're barely hanging over the edge of the wire. Now we'll go over to the software and we'll load a file and look at that operation. Okay, now we're back over at the software. We've got our panels in place. We're going to load the file, which we picked here, and hit open. Now it's loaded into the Mach 3 software. All you need to do now once it's loaded is hit the cycle start button. Now you can see the wire's hot and it's cutting the foam. This particular set of panels is 2-pound foam, so therefore the feed rate or the cut rate of the machine is slower because it's 2-pound foam. Okay, so while the panel's cutting, we've come back to the software. Just you guys can see the actual movement of the machine in the Mach 3 software. So right now it's moving in the y-axis, so that's all that you see is changing as far as the numerical value and the position of the machine. Once we get to the top and we begin to cut the radius of the panel, you'll see the y-axis, the x-axis begin to move. Still on? And you can actually, if you look to the right in the black box, you can actually see where the wire is, the cut is happening in relationship to the panel. Okay, so now if you look back at the screen in the software, you can see that the x-axis is now changing. The radius is beginning to be cut by the machine. So now you see movement on both x and y. You'll hear the machine as it different feed rates and different axis is moving, the machine makes different harmonic sounds. Don't be too alarmed. You'll get to understand what those sounds are, and you'll understand if there's a bad sound. So we're just about to finish the x-axis. I'm sorry, the y-axis.
It's done.
So Y is done. Now we're running the x-axis along the length of the panel. Okay, so we're at the end of the panels now, just about to finish. You can see the wire down below. It's almost to the end. Okay, and it's finished. Now the machine has a built-in pause in the code. So what we'll do now is Mr. Cardenaz will remove the scrap from the panels. And there you have your shaped panels, all complete. So next function is to remove the shaped panels off the machine. And now the machine is left at the far end, the wire is left at the far end of the machine. So we're going to hit the cycle start button once more. You can see the machine raised up so it doesn't hit the foam blocks that create the level bed, and it's returning itself to home. And now it's home. It's ready to load the next file in to cut the next set of panels. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to show you how to do is change the wire. You'll have to do this on a fairly frequent basis. The rule is the hotter you run the wire, the more times you'll have to change it. The cooler you run the wire, the less times you'll have to change it. You guys will figure out what is optimal for your operation and your foam. So what we're going to do now is we're going to manually jog the machine up to get the wire up a little bit so we can change it.
What we're going to do to raise the machine is we're going to use the computer arrows. You're going to click up and you put it on a comfortable position so it's at the level that you can change the wire. Once it's in a position, the next thing that we need to do is shut off the control box. That way you don't get shocked.
Also, one other note, because we didn't cover it when we were talking about the controls of the Mach 3, we showed you how to jog the wire up to change the wire. If for some reason you need to move the machine horizontally, you can use the left and right arrows to do that as well. So horizontal movement is left and right arrow. Wire up down is the up down arrow on the keyboard.
Let's explain this also.
Okay, so basically the wire that cuts the foam is attached to a spring, and the spring is stretched and placed on this all thread here so that the wire has tension. To start the process, it's pretty simple. You're just going to remove the wire off of the all thread, and then because the wire's on one side, you're going to have to use a set of dikes and cut the wire. The wire, as you see if you can zoom in here, Juan. The wire is threaded through a piece of copper plating so that the electricity can be transferred to the wire to cut the foam. So we're going to remove that now. He's removed the other side as well. Okay, so we're replacing the wire with a new wire. He's got the end of the wire, no spring on it. He's going to feed it through the small hole in the copper stock here. We'll feed it all the way through. It's going to come out the other side, and then that's where he'll attach the spring to the wire. He does it by bending the wire over the hook and the spring and then just twisting it. That's all it's going to take to secure it. He attaches that into the all thread, pulls a little tension so he knows that he has the wire in the roller, which is the wire, it keeps it aligned and allows the wire to travel as the tension changes. Once the wire gets hot, it expands due to heat, so the wire is going to keep, it will retension the wire for cutting. So we brought the coil of wire down to the other end. So he's just going to estimate the amount of wire that he needs in order to make it through the copper stock and attach the spring. It's going to clip the wire now. Once again, he'll feed the wire in through the copper stock. Attach the wire to the spring. So, and you'll get used to the right amount of length of the wire to have. You want a fair amount of tension because, again, when the wire turns on and gets hot, it's going to stretch automatically. You don't want it to be loose, otherwise it'll drag through the foam. So you can see he's got a fair amount of tension on the spring, not a ton, but a fair amount. So as the wire gets hot and gets longer, the spring can then take up the slack in the wire and it remains tight. Okay, so we're going to show you, we talked about the spring moving up and down as the wire gets hot. We're going to illustrate that. We put just a piece of foam to help you see the travel of the spring. We're going to turn the heat on. You'll see the spring is relaxing because the wire's gotten longer as it's gotten hot. Now we'll turn the wire off and you'll see the spring travel back down as the wire shortens up as it cools. So that's the importance of having the right tension on the wire. Okay, we'll just cover some general machine maintenance issues. Machine is almost maintenance free. So a few things that you need to kind of keep your eye on and take care of the machine. At the end of each sides of the bed you'll see pillow blocks. Just make sure they're greased. They won't use a lot. It doesn't travel at high speeds, but just make sure they're greased. The other important thing is to keep the rails in which the device travels back and forth on, number one, lubed, and number two, kind of clean and free of debris. If something's in the way, you could damage the rod and affect the performance of the machine traveling back and forth. So there's internal bearings in here. You want to keep it clean so they don't get damaged. So really on a day-to-day, that's kind of, or week to week, that's kind of the only maintenance that's required for the machine. It's almost maintenance free, but keep an eye on those couple of things.